Hello, my name is Maya Angelou. What is Africa to me? Uh, it exaggerates a bit, and it's almost a dance.
And if I love you and duck it, I die.
I see the nature of love, the ability to dare, to challenge despair, and to dare to love. I never liked full moons. They give people an excuse to do foolish things. You can't be all things, I know that. And so not everybody's going to like me. I have no modesty. Modesty is dangerous. It's a learned affectation. As soon as the modest person gets slammed against the wall by life, modesty will drop off faster than a G string from a stripper.
The wonderful poet, dancer, singer, activist, and scholar, Maya Angelou, was a world famous best selling author. She published 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, and several books of poetry. She did numerous plays, movies, and television shows. She was highly respected all over the world. She openly spoke about the things she did in her past. She was not afraid or embarrassed to let the world know. She was born Marguerite Annie Johnson on April 4th, 1928, in St. Louis, Missouri. She was the second of 2 children for her father, Bailey Johnson, a doorman and Navy dietitian, and her mother, Vivian Baxter Johnson, a nurse and card dealer. Her and her family lived with her grandparents until she was 3. Her older brother, Bailey, nicknamed her Maya. Her parents ended their marriage when she was 3 and her brother was 4. Her father sent them to Stamps, Arkansas, alone by train with no supervision, to live with their paternal grandmother, Annie Henderson. It made her feel rejected. Her grandmother was prospering financially during the Great Depression and World War II because the general store she owned sold basic and needed commodities, and because she made wise, honest investments. When Maya was 7, their father came to Stamp without warning and returned them to their mother in St. Louis. When she was 8 years old, she was allegedly SA'd by her mother's boyfriend, a man named Freeman. She told her brother what happened, and he told the rest of the family. Freeman was found guilty of the crime, but he was only jailed for 1 day. He was killed 4 days after he got out. It is alleged that her uncles might have been the ones that took out Freeman. Maya became mute for almost 5 years, feeling like she's the one that was to blame for his death. She thought her voice killed him because she told his name. She said she thought she would never speak again because her voice would kill anyone. Marcia Ann Gillespie and her colleagues wrote a biography about Maya Angelou. According to them, it was during this period of silence when Maya developed her extraordinary memory, her love for books and literature, and her ability to listen and observe the world around her. During her mutism and into her teens, she started living again with her grandmother in Arkansas. Throughout her childhood, she wrote essays, poetry, and kept a journal when she returned to Arkansas. She took an interest in poetry and memorized work by Shakespeare and Poe. Prior to World War II, she moved back in with her mother, who at this time was living in Oakland, California. She attended George Washington High School and took dance and drama courses at the California Labor School. After war broke out, Maya applied to join the Women's Army Corps. Her application was rejected because of her involvement in the California Labor School, which was said to have communist ties. She was determined to gain employment despite the fact that she was only 15 years old. So she decided to apply for the position of a streetcar conductor. A lot of men had left their jobs to join the services, which enabled women to fill them. Maya was barred from applying at first because of her race. She didn't let that stop her. Every day for 3 weeks, she requested a job application but was denied. The company finally handed her an application, but she was under the legal working age. She wrote down that she was 19. She was accepted for the position and became the first African American woman to work as a streetcar conductor in San Francisco. She was employed for a semester and decided to go back to school. She graduated from Mission High School in the summer of 1944. Soon after that, she gave birth to her only child, Clyde Bailey. He later changed his name to Guy Johnson. In her autobiography, she talks about this guy who wanted to sleep with her for the longest. She walked up to him one day and asked him if he still wanted to do it. He had a key to his friend's apartment. They went there and did it, and she got pregnant. Her mom asked her if she loved the guy, and she said no. Her mom was like, okay, you don't have to marry him. We don't have to ruin two lives, and we'll keep the baby. After she graduated, she took a series of odd jobs to support herself and her son. She worked as a cook and a waitress. She also became a madam for a female gay couple. The brothel business was very profitable for Maya, but she had a disagreement with the couple. She feared getting arrested and losing her son. She returned to California and engaged in being a sex worker herself. Maya was not ashamed of her history as a sex worker. Maya wanted her story to be known. In interviews and her autobiographies, she explained the most boring and the most dangerous people are those self righteous people who would have you believe they have no skeletons in their closet. In fact, they have no closet. She wrote about her life, including being a sex worker, in her second autobiography, Gather Together in My Name, because too many people lied to young folks and tell them they never did anything wrong. She believed there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you, and courageously shared her own life story to illustrate the human conditions and the power of resilience and self forgiveness. She married Tosh Angelo in 1949, who was Greek. He was an electrician in the U.S. Navy. There was some raised eyebrows due to the disapproval of interracial relationships back then. Her mother also had some reservations. Their marriage ended in 1954. She took a form of his surname and kept it throughout her life. After her marriage ended in 1954, she danced professionally in clubs around San Francisco, including the nightclub, the Purple Onion, where she would sing and dance to calypso music. Up to that point, she went by the name Margaret Johnson, or Rita. Her manager and supporters at the Purple Onion suggested she change her professional name to Maya Angelou, her nickname and former married surname. That name set her apart and captured the feel of her calypso dance performances. During 1954 and 1955, Maya toured Europe with a production of the opera Porgy and Bess. She started learning the language of every country she visited, and in a few years, she became proficient in several languages. In 1957, she recorded her first album, Miss Calypso, which was reissued as a CD in 1996. She appeared in an off Broadway review and directly inspired the 1957 film Calypso Heatwave. She had a starring role in the film where she both sang and performed her own compositions. In the 1960s, Maya Angelou worked as a journalist for the Arab Observer and the African Review in Egypt and Ghana subsequently. She was also a dancer, actress, and playwright who won awards for directing and performing on Broadway and in Hollywood. There was this incident that Maya Angelou's son talked about with Maya and Pearl Bailey. He said his mother Maya had a chance to do the understudy in Hello Dolly with Pearl Bailey as the lead. He said for his mother, it would have meant living continuously in New York without leaving him for at least a year. He said the director and the producer loved his mom, but Pearl Bailey came back and said this.
The director and the producer both loved her, but Pearl Bailey came back and said, Oh no, I ain't gonna have this big old ugly girl be my understudy. There are very few times in my life that I remember my mother crying. I knew all the sacrifices my mother made to keep me. 35 years later, when Pearl Bailey was getting a Lifetime Award and they asked her, "Who do you want to give it to you?" She said, "Maya Angelou." And guess who gave it to her? Never said a damn thing.
Wow. He said there are very few times in his life that he remembers his mother crying. He said it was devastating because he knew all the sacrifices she made so she could keep him. Years later, when Pearl Bailey was getting a Lifetime Award, he said they asked her, "Who do you want to give it to you?" And she said, "Maya Angelou," as you heard. In 1962, she and her son Guy moved to Accra, Ghana, so he could attend college. But he was seriously injured in an automobile accident. Maya remained in Accra for his recovery and ended up staying there until 1965. She became an administrator at the University of Ghana and was active in the African American expatriate community. She was a feature editor for the African Review, a freelance writer for the Ghanaian Times, wrote and broadcast for Radio Ghana, and worked and performed for Ghana's National Theatre. While she was in Accra, she became close friends with Malcolm X. During his visit in the early 1960s, she returned to the US and in 1965 to help him build a new civilized organization, the Organization of Afro American Community. He was assassinated shortly after. Losing Malcolm devastated her. She went to join her brother in Hawaii, where she resumed her singing career. She later moved back to Los Angeles to focus on her writing career. In 1968, Martin Luther King asked Maya to organize a march. She agreed but postponed again. In a terrible twist of fate, Martin Luther King was then assassinated on her 40th birthday, April 4th. Whoa. She was again devastated. Her friend James Baldwin encouraged her out of her depression. 1968 was a year of great pain. That was also the year that she was recognized by a lot of people in America. Even though she had little to no experience, she wrote, produced, and narrated Black Blues Black, a 10-part series of documentaries exploring the influence of African American culture on modern American society. The series examined the roots of Black culture in African history and celebrated its expressions through art, dance, poetry, and music. It also addressed issues such as racism and violence during the Civil Rights era. Around 1971, Maya met Paul DeFeo. He was a Welsh builder, writer, and model. In 1974, she married Paul DeFeo. They exchanged vows on two other occasions. Maya said that her and Paul married 3 times because they loved each other that much. So they had a great love. Released in 1972, Maya Angelou's Georgia, Georgia, produced by a Swedish film company and filmed in Sweden, was the first produced screenplay by a Black woman. She also wrote the soundtrack. Maya had many accomplishments over the years. She was the epitome of strength in class. She wasn't afraid to let anyone know her journey. Her goal was to help others, especially young people, understand that everyone experiences struggles and makes mistakes so they can forgive themselves and move on with their lives instead of feeling isolated or bad. Before her death, she was in poor health and had canceled recent scheduled appearances. She was also working on another autobiography about her experiences with the national and world leaders. Dr. Maya Angelou died on the morning of May 28, 2014, at 86 years old. During her memorial service at Wake Forest University, her son stated that despite being in constant pain due to her dancing career and respiratory failure, she wrote 4 books during the last 10 years of her life. He said she left this mortal plane with no loss of acuity and no loss in comprehension. Numerous people paid tribute to Maya Angelou, including entertainers, artists, and world leaders. including President Obama, whose sister was named after Maya Angelou, and Bill Clinton. Maya was a brave and beautiful woman that I have so much respect for, and I wish I could have met her before she died. She is not forgotten. Rest in peace, Dr. Maya Angelou.